Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Hotsport. The international break is finally over, and we are heading into our fourth match week of the Premier League season. Today, we will be doing and commencing our Under Pressure segment for the third week running. Let's get into it. But actually, before we get into it, make sure you are liking, make sure you're subscribing to the channel, okay? It's very important just for our algorithm so we can keep making these videos so we're more viewable, so this channel, this platform can grow. So if you're watching this video, it's very simple. It takes like half a second. Click the like button. It does us massive help. But anyway, let's get into it. Under Pressure segment. Let's go. Well, we are now doing our Under Pressure segment for match week 4. And it's actually interesting. I think people have been getting inspired now by the letter that we got on our last show, which is now 2 weeks ago. If you guys remember, Wayne, the Man United fan, sent me a letter last week, trying to encourage Ruben Amorim and, basically putting out his concerns, his distaste for what is going on for Manchester United. Well, obviously, the United answered the bell. They produced their first victory of the season following that Under Pressure segment. So finally, just not spoiler alert, but we've removed any sort of Man United or Ruben Amorim sort of references from this week's show. But now I'm getting emails. Like, obviously, like it's taken. So now I got an email from a man from the other side of Manchester, from the blue side of Manchester. He actually gave me a request. So I actually just want to read that out before we start anything. So here you go. Hi, Anton. The subject of the email goes, "A concerned blue needs your help." So it goes, "Hi, Anton. Russell here. A Man City fan who's gone from parading around in treble t-shirts to nervously Googling the wrong kind of treble. I'm writing to you out of genuine concern for my health, my club, and Pep Guardiola's cardigan collection. We've gone from the glory of lifting every trophy in sight to flirting with the unholy trinity, losing 3 matches in a row, and God forbid the third one, losing to United. If that's the treble we're heading for, then I don't want it. Cancel the open top bus. This is why I'm begging you, as a loyal viewer of your channel, to please put Pep Guardiola on the Under Pressure list this week. The man's been experimenting again." Okay, I don't know if this is necessarily accurate, but okay. The man's been experimenting again. Fullbacks playing as strikers, goalkeepers tucking into midfield, and it's starting to feel less like genius and more like performance art. I can't tolerate it if we lose to United. I'd rather have noise back at Old Trafford than face that humiliation. I don't get that. On a serious note, mate, love the show. You've made even this international break bearable, which is saying something. Keep doing what you're doing because your channel is the only place I get both therapy and banter rolled into one. Oh, I appreciate that, Russell. All the best. Russell, a blue, but barely holding it together. Okay, look, come on, Russell. I don't understand the David Moyes. I'd rather have David Moyes back at Old Trafford than face that humiliation. Like, of course you'd rather have David Moyes at Old Trafford. You're a City fan. I don't get what you're saying. Yeah, I guess he's obviously just being over the top. Like, fullbacks are not playing as striker. Okay. Anyway, I don't want to read too far. Clay is clearly in a mood. So he's, it's. Anyway. Yeah, look, I cannot believe where Man City has come from for a City fan to be that. I never thought I would be getting an Arsenal fan getting emails from a City fan asking for help. It's interesting where the world has come to. But this is the Under Pressure list for this week. Let's start off. My first one that I put on the under pressure list this week, and this is going to raise some alarm bells, and people will call me hating or whatsoever. But I just need to bring this into full focus, into truth. So obviously, the big news since the last time we've recorded an under pressure segment was that Alexander Isak did sign for Liverpool for a record, I believe, 125 million plus 5 in add-ons to become the most expensive player in British football history, leaving Newcastle finally after months and months of just headlines and holdouts and drama and back and forth and news reports. I myself was doubting that Newcastle would ever actually let it happen, just considering the way Liverpool has gone about it. But as the window closed, Alexander Isak finally got his dream. He got to sign for Liverpool. But I just want to say, now he's not yet to kick a ball this season. But I want to put him under pressure for this simple reason, because I just feel like people need to remain consistent with their takes in terms of signings and being put under pressure. 2 weeks ago, or 2 shows ago, I put Gyökeres under pressure because, given the fact that Arsenal needed a new striker, he was finally the new man, and he didn't really have a good showing in his first match away at Old Trafford, but then he, of course, scored against Leeds and stuff, and he still gets a beating, like in terms of on social media or like no overlap. You see the guy who's talking about it looks like he's playing in jeans and all that stuff, and it's like this is a player who's about 55 million plus 7.5 in add-ons player, right? Alexander Isak is almost double that price. Like he's nearly at 130 million pounds, and the energy that's been given towards this Isak thing is like, well, now that Alexander Isak has joined Liverpool, they are clearly the favorites. I was on the six-sider with Terry the other day, and he showed me a graphic that they were 10% more likely, according to Opta, to win the Premier League now that they have Alexander Isak. And and another guy on the show saying, look, I just think that they probably could win the treble this year. And I'm like, well, those are the standards you're setting for Liverpool. It goes both ways, because when you set the bar so high, now they have to deliver that, and if they don't, like you just said, though, he said the word treble, and give a big up to my boy Ash. Love Ash. We're in the group chat all the time. I love all my football terrorists. My colleagues there. They all do a great job. But to say treble means that even if they won only 2 trophies this season, it's still a failure. And for Alexander Isak, bringing it back to Alexander Isak, if Victor Gyökeres is under pressure to score and to deliver for Arsenal, and and of course, Victor Gyökeres is a guy who's moving leagues. There's a vast change in the difficulty level between the Portuguese league and the Premier League. Alexander Isak is an established Premier League player playing at Newcastle. There is no excuses for him to start off slow. Now he will. This is the irony, right? He is going to start off slow. He has not played or trained for months because he was holding out. It's going to take a while. He might not even start this weekend against Burnley. It's going to take a while for him to, get his fitness levels right, okay? But so has been the issue with Victor Gyökeres. He also had similar issues leaving Sporting, and even now, I think he's just starting to get his legs under him. Given that Isak is on double the amount of a transfer fee, given that you guys are giving the expectations that this is a player that's going to make Liverpool clearly the best team by a long stretch, 10% is a big over first to second, which I disagree with. I think, Arsenal and Liverpool are neck and neck. But I don't, again, every single time. Maybe I found a video where I can actually go more elaborate into that. But Isak better be scoring, man. He better hit the ground running. You are under pressure, man. You are the record holding transfer. On my last show, his teammate Florian Wirtz, I brought up for the same reason. Florian Wirtz, by the way, still hasn't answered the bell. But the pressure now is off him because now he's no longer holding the belt of the most expensive transfer. Alexander Isak is not only holding that belt now, but people are telling me that he is the piece that makes them unstoppable, which I think is an exaggeration. But now that exaggeration has been made, he better deliver. I will be there. Keep the same energy. I want double the energy. Just because he plays for Liverpool, and Liverpool, their fans come out in unison and they all are very sensitive and they all back him all together and whatever, and no one wants to deal with that shit. I think it's easier to pick on Arsenal players. I get you. That's what Terry was telling me at the end of the show. But I'm sorry. You can't in one side of your mouth say, Alexander Isak, if he joins Liverpool, that is it. Close it. End of the league. Done. And then if he struggles, give him excuses. Because Gyökeres has not been allowed excuses. Although he should be excused, there are plenty of reasons why he should be excused. He's moving leagues. He's joining a different system. The players around him, like Saka wasn't fit last weekend. Aberche Eze is supposed to come in to try to help him. Like, Arsenal hasn't necessarily been set up in the way that they want to play yet, personnel-wise. It's going to probably start this weekend, right? But Alexander Isak, given the moaning, all that he's done to force this move, given what people were saying if the move were to happen, he better back that up. Liverpool better back that up. Because if they don't, I want the same sort of pressure. The higher the expectation, the higher the scrutiny. I find that, especially in the British media, there are two clubs that get protected from scrutiny, weirdly enough. And the second one I'm about to bring up, and I've added him to the list because of my friend Russell, the City fan. I have answered your call. Pep Guardiola. But before I move on, just quickly to talk about Pep Guardiola. Both of these clubs get put on a pedestal as of late, but yet when they are failing to deliver and not reaching the levels of the pedestal you've put them on, they don't get the scrutiny that my club does, even though you're bantering my club, but then on the other side saying, well, they need to win, and any single time we have any sort of negative results, the sky is falling. Same energy. That is what my channel is about. That's what I promised you from the start when I built this channel. That is what we're doing here. We're keeping the same energy for everyone. On to Guardiola. As Russell has pointed out now, Man City have now lost 2 on the bounce. They lost to Tottenham Hotspur at home. They got absolutely out-physicaled, outplayed, outworked by Tottenham. Tottenham made them look soft. It was an exposure of the highest order. The next week, again, you thought, okay, here's a bounce back, and I put City under pressure last week, and I said, look, they play right before that big Arsenal-Liverpool game away at Brighton. That's an opportunity for them to then go back ahead of the 2 before and put pressure on both Arsenal and Liverpool. They did the exact opposite of that. They went away to Brighton. They lost. That's 2 defeats now in a row. This is the Manchester derby coming up this weekend. At home against a Manchester United side that is struggling. Hey, here we go. What is the show with me? Not making a hand gesture and balloons coming up. Or the like thing or the fireworks. It's always something. Anyway, this is the Manchester derby. Man United in their own right are struggling. They in their own right have been under the microscope. Ruben Amorim, we've spoken about him on this show. This is the First time he's failed to make an appearance on my show. And now the manager facing Emery on the other side of Manchester has to be put under pressure. You see the picture of him of here scratching his head? Man, that head is must be like got band-aids all over it during the week to cover all the deep scratches that dude keeps freaking doing on his bald head. Man City is a team that has in recent years under this manager dominated the game, won a quad, the treble, and they have stood on their hands while their rivals have strengthened. And I feel like there's no transition. Like, I don't understand. City, the side that, has all the money, all of a sudden isn't investing. Like, just, it's weird. I know everybody came out talking about Reinders and Cherky and Nuri at the start of the window and saying, oh, amazing City is doing in the window. Well, two of them are out now with injuries, and that's another thing. So the injuries are piling up for Man City. And in the international break as well, Omar Marmoush also went out with an injury. I believe now, like, Foden might not make the game as well. Again, we were talking about Cherky. We were talking about Ait Nouri. I think Vardiol is on the injury list. I actually want to pull up Man City injury report. Let's go. Manchester City injuries at the current moment. Can we pull this up? All right, yeah. Let me screen share. Let's screen share here. Just an illustration. Okay. Before pressing, move other media. Oh, okay. Here you go. Here's the Man City injury report coming into the week, right? Ryan Cherky, I didn't know it was Mathis Cherky. Okay, thigh injury, not available, ruled out. Omar Marmoush, currently being assessed, ruled out with a knee injury. Mateo Kovacic, not available, ruled out. Ryan Nuri, undisclosed, not available. Josko Vardiol, late fitness test. Savinho, late fitness test. Okay, Marcus Bettinetti, no one really cares. He's the third or fourth keeper at City at this point. Abdulkadir Kuzanov, okay, pass fit. Okay, Phil Foden, late fitness test. John Stones, late fitness test. Calvin Phillips, ruled out. So let's bring Pep back here. So bring it full circle here. They're going to go to Old Trafford with a lot of massive injuries on the back of 2 defeats. I personally still rate Pep as a manager. I think anybody who is counting him out at this point is naive. Like, this is a test of his brilliance as a manager. But at the same time, we're talking about a United team who's lost to Grimsby in the cup. Man United team who struggled to beat Burnley, even though that's their only win of the season. Man United side who drew with Fulham. A Man United side that has literally been the most pressurized side in the English media since the start of the year. We're not all of a sudden expecting United to go and beat City, are we? And if that was the case, we need to have a conversation about the great one, about the bold one. Like we do. Because something is not right here. Like, we get it. Like, Kevin De Bruyne is gone now. Gundogan is gone now. They lost a few other guys over the years, like Mahrez. Like we could talk about the recruitment and how on Man City it's been. Again, they also brought in Donnarumma to get the goal. So, again, I think that's going to be a massive piece. It's interesting, the fit, but I think it's ambitious. My opinion is that Gianluigi Donnarumma is the best keeper on planet Earth today. So that is going to be interesting, right? First of all, do they start Donnarumma? I would, personally, because Man United are going to come after the high line, whatever Pep's been doing recently. I know that from experience, the way they played Arsenal. Cunha and Mbeumo, see Cunha's fitness is by himself, but Mbeumo in particular, they will try to exploit the City's deficiencies defensively as of late. And Buffon, I'm not Buffon, Buffon Jr., Donnarumma is going to, from the get-go, have to probably pull out a really good game out of the bag. But despite that, by the way, look at those players that I just said, by the way, who are still late fitness tests, so can still play. So Stones could still play. Foden could still play. Savio can still play. Vardiol can still play. They're still going to be putting out a lineup, City, that, in my opinion, is better than whatever Man United is putting in. Erling Haaland just literally scored, I think, 5 or 6 goals just like a few days ago playing for Norway. Like, again, remember the nature of the under pressure list, which is this is to uplift. This is not to criticize. So at the same time, like, to go back to Isak, yeah, I was just saying I want the criticism to be of a similar level. But I also want to encourage Alexander Isak, given that he's got his dream move, to rise to that occasion. And for Pep, I just 3 in a row, as Russell said, the wrong kind of treble. 3 in a row. Tom Little said on Six Sider the other day that it happened last year, both of these things, that they lost to United at home and they lost 3 in a row. That can't happen 2 years in a row. Like, that, they can't lose to United at home to be their 3rd defeat in a row. They've got Champions League coming up and they're going to go to the Emirates. Like this is a big game. This is the game that can just break that up. Because before they go play Napoli, which is going to be tough, and they play Arsenal, which is going to be tough, they need to beat United at home. And I think they will. We're gonna cover this topic again in my next video as well. But yeah, Pep is under pressure. Pep, enough of the scratching and get back to being a genius. All right? Good, cool. Next one. This is our teams part of the under pressure segment. And I'm going to put 2 teams on it this week, Newcastle and Aston Villa. And this is purely about being real. Now, I know we tend to like to put the big clubs under pressure, and I still consider Newcastle and Villa just right about there. Like, they're not quite big 6, but they're 7 and 8. And they've been up there in recent years playing in Europe. You know, like, both of them have played Champions League in recent seasons. Newcastle now, they're having their second crack at it. Villa, balloons the second time. Villa had it last season. In fact, Villa made it all the way to the quarterfinals. 2 different things. Let's start with Aston Villa. We're now past the international break into heading into our 4th game, and Aston Villa has yet to find the back of the net. In fact, they are the only one of the 20 Premier League sides who have failed to register a goal this season. So put that into perspective. All the sides that, like, even Burnley has scored more than them. Sunderland, Leeds, Wolves, who if you've watched my tiers, I've ripped into. Brentford, who I've ripped into. They've all managed to at least score. That game the other week against Palace at home was an embarrassment. All the headlines were about Gahey because Gahey was on the way to making his big move finally to Liverpool, which never materialized, and he had that big heroic performance that led them to the win at the end. But this is getting concerning now for Villa. This is a Villa's team that needs to be on the top end of the Premier League, not at the bottom of it. Like, I put them at the bottom tier of my tiers. I never actually thought that they would be. They shouldn't be there. And now it needs to turn it around. I've made this statement to all the clubs, the first 3 matches, because the window is open, I do not hold anybody to the standard or those first 3 matches as being the sample size or the story which these teams' seasons are going to be. For me, the season starts now. Villa have now brought in, I think, 2 players from big clubs. Like, I think Sancho to Villa, I think will be a nice fit. I like the idea of like a front 3, got Sancho, Morgan Rogers, and Ollie Watkins, and then throw in Harvey Elliott, who I think probably be the 9. I like McGinn as well. McGinn's also the club captain for Villa, but I think Harvey Elliott could be a starter level player for Villa. I think he can really push on, and like I think he's a very talented player, and he needs a loan move like this. It reminds me a little bit of when Jack Wilshere went on loan to Bolton, although Harvey Elliott is much older than Jack Wilshere was at the time, but this could be that chance for him to establish himself playing at Villa and getting himself like a good run of games as being the guy. I think overall he will outdo John McGinn and kind of play consistently in that role. So that's a nice front 4 now for Villa. If they're not scoring goals with that front 4 now, Emery might end up being in place of Pep on this list in a week from now if they don't do that. So they gotta get their season on track. As I said, the real Premier League season starts here at Matchweek 4, post transfer window. Now you can argue, look, oh yeah, they're coming back from international break. They've had only a couple days to train, and yeah, I think that's a fair critique. But still, everyone's squads are together. We know who's playing for everyone at least until January now. Villa have got Everton away from home. Everton, by the way, is not going to be easy for Villa. Everton have started much better. Everton are 1-2 in the balance. You know, they got this beautiful new stadium. But regardless now, if like Villa need to come out, I think, with a win away at Everton. I'm actually going to say that Villa are going to go ahead and win at Everton, because I just think that that's the standard that they need to be in. They need to be beating Everton's. They should be going into games against Everton as favorite. Actually, I'm curious to look at the betting odds for this week's game. Premier League betting odds. So they have Villa. I mean, Everton as the favorite, I guess, being at home and Villa's current form. I'd still think that just the standards, we're just talking about the standards that Villa have. This is a game that's for them to get right, even though they're away from home at whatever this new stadium is called here at Everton. Not Goodison Park. It's, I forgot the name of the stadium. It doesn't really matter to me at all. But the Hill Dickinson Stadium. So, yeah, that's the Villa part. Here's the Newcastle part. And with that, this will be the end of our show and our segment. I'm in a group chat with Newcastle fans, who are on the terrace and stuff. And big up to them, because they had to do a big job in terms of being in a group full of fans who are, I just say there's lots of hubris going on, entitlement coming from Big Six fans, and they back themselves. But I see Newcastle fans being like, oh, I think we could be top 4. I think you're disrespecting us. Why do you have United ahead of us in certain stuff? Like in terms of height and squat strength, it's actually changed now. I've readjusted that. But they've had a legitimate excuse over the first 3 weeks. And again, I will remain consistent. The first 3 weeks is not the barometer, considering especially for Newcastle. Like, they were playing without a striker. Their only striker that they had of real quality, of course, is now on the right side of this graphic in a Liverpool shirt, and he was holding out and wasn't playing. And they had a legitimate excuse. And I had, I've been on with Tay many times, and he said, I just think any side of striker at all. I think Newcastle could play better and be able to score goals with the rest of the team that's around them. And yeah, I think Newcastle have a good team. The Anthony Gordons of this world, Alenga. I like Alenga. I like Murphy. I like Harvey Barnes. I like Jacob Ramsey. Like in terms of some of the more creative parts of the team, Tonali, Guimaraes, Joe Linton. Like there is. Oh, hit my mic. There is a good infrastructure around, I guess, for a striker. So now they brought in two. They brought in. I actually think Voltermata is to be the. This is sort of reminds me of when Isak was just brought in. He was young, and they had Wilson. In the team, Callum Wilson. They brought him in from Bournemouth. So it's sort of like that, where Vissa is sort of the Callum Wilson, a Premier League proven striker. Vissa had like really good goal return last year as well. And then they have Voltermata as well, who is going to produce eventually. I just don't think it's going to be this season. He'll be a bit of an understudy learning. But Voltermata played very, very well. Great, especially coming on in the second part of last season at Stuttgart in Bundesliga. The Premier League is a bit of a different outfit, but he's put in a good position now where he can grow into being a Premier League striker. They've got in place, I think a pretty decent plan for replacing Isak in the long term, like the combination of Wissa and Voltermata. But the excuse now is over. Let's be honest, Newcastle, you have yet to win yet. So let's not start talking about top fours and top fives and top sixes until you actually win. Like, I've heard Newcastle fans criticize, say, what not a big deal that Gyökeres scores 2 goals against Leeds. Well, you guys didn't score anything against Leeds. Like that result just completely gets swept under the carpet. Good fight back against Liverpool in the second game. The first game was dead between the two teams on the screen, Villa and Newcastle. Now Wolves come to town. Wolves are leaky. They've got more holes than a pasta strainer. They got the worst defense in the Premier League. Time for Newcastle to pick up 3 points, or else there needs to be a reality check for the Toon Army. All right? Anyway, guys, that has been my Under Pressure segment for this week. Let me know what you think in the comments section below. Do you agree with the sentiments that I put? Do you think that the standards for Isak needs to be consistent? If you're gonna big him up and say that he's gonna be this big difference maker, that he makes Liverpool this unstoppable dominant side, that needs to materialize, and we can't be making excuses if it doesn't. That if he fails, that he struggles to hit the ground running, that maybe I don't want to be hearing, he's not fit yet as an excuse. That's his fault. He's not fit because he spent most of the summer crying like a baby. So he's got no excuses. Pep Guardiola, is Manchester City in trouble if they do not beat Man United this week? Do we need to really have a serious conversation about a falling dynasty? Big up, Russell. Thank you again for the emails. And anybody, by the way, who wants to send me emails, I can give you our email address at the moment because somehow people have found it, I guess, via my page. But it is hotsport.au@gmail.com. So send those emails through. If you have, I read them. I will feature them on this show. Now, if you have a suggestion for who should be on The Pressure next week, let me know. I got personal letters last time. So, again, I still don't know how some of these fools find my personal address. Story for another time. And again, Newcastle and Villa, right? You're supposed to be at the top part of the table here. It's time for you guys now in the 4th match week of the season to deliver. All right, everybody. Thank you so much. We will be back with another video later. But until next time, guys, make sure you're liking, make sure you're subscribing, and Anton out.